Mercedes invited Dan and I on a 500-kilometer road trip through France and Spain in one of their brand new 2018 Mercedes G-Classes. The Mercedes vehicles are pretty impressive, especially if you're into the luxury off-roading market. The G-Class is exceptional. The thing I'm most excited about is the 3 locking differentials, not just 1 or 2, but 3. Lucky for us, Mercedes is letting us take these off-road in some pretty extreme conditions, so we'll see how they hold up.
We're literally on a cliff right now.
Let's get started. Obviously, we've already done some pretty heavy driving in this, but I'm gonna run you through the exterior. So this is pretty much the same design as the previous Mercedes G-Classes, except for they've managed to shave 170 kilograms off of the total weight, which is pretty sweet. It still has the same iconic markers on the side, which, side note, is actually pretty cool. If this ever hits a pedestrian, this whole thing will collapse inside the frame, not damaging the light, and more importantly, not damaging the pedestrian. Same iconic grille with the Mercedes logo and the same relative boxy shape that the normal G-Classes have always had for the last 30 years. One thing Mercedes has bragged about is the same style of door handle they've always had with the push button on the side and the spare tire on the rear. And it comes in 2 different styles. This is the G500 and there's also a G63, and I'll talk about those more in a bit. So inside of the back, you can tell we've been driving for a minute. We have the same opening style handles. We have back right here, and inside the car, these seats actually fold completely flat. So we can lift these up, set these down, and there's a lot of room for activities back here. The thing I'm most excited about though is the triple locking differentials. Not only one in the rear, but there's also one in the front and one in the middle. And I'll explain what I mean. So every car has something called a differential that's in between the 2 tires that lets them spin independently of each other. My truck, my Toyota Tacoma, has a rear locker, which means that it can lock the differential and make the tires spin together at the same time, which helps you get out of sticky situations. Let's say you're in a patch of mud and one tire is spinning, the other tire won't move while that tire is spinning. So with the locker, it makes it so that both tires have to move at the same time, which means that if this one's spinning, it transfers the power to the one that's not spinning and also makes it move. So in this G-Class undercarriage right here, we have the front of the car, and here we have the rear differential with the locker, which is pretty standard on off-road cars, but we also have a center locking differential here, which means that the front and rear tires won't spin independently of each other. They will all have to spin at the same speed at the same time. And then this G-Class also has a front differential with a locker. Basically, with all of those lockers, you'll just never get stuck in a G-Class. But rather than just talk about the locking differentials, how about we show you how they work? So inside the G-Class, we have a plethora of buttons. These control the seats over here. We have 2 big monitors, which I'll talk about in a second. But right now, we're gonna talk about these dynamic select programs. Here we have, obviously, your basic slippery, individual, comfort, sport, and sport plus modes. But if we jump down here into the differentials and we put on the center lock, then it brings us to different kind of trail modes. So we have the regular trail mode, and then we also have a rock mode, and then we have the sand mode here. And each one of those, the tires act differently depending on what mode it's set to. And also, if you check right here, as I'm moving the steering wheel, you can see the angle of the front tire as I turn the steering wheel back and forth. So most of the cars that I've driven have the exhaust coming out the back, and it sounds, you know, like a normal car, normal truck. But here in this Mercedes G-Class, the exhaust sounds completely different. It first of all comes out the side right next to the back passenger rear tire. And secondly, it sounds more like a Harley-Davidson motorcycle than anything else. So right now we have the G-Class 500 and we're gonna take it off-roading up these mountains behind me. This one, it doesn't have the side rails and it doesn't have those tailpipes that stick out the side. So the sound of this 500 is quite a bit different than the 63 that we were in before. But this one is better for off-roading because it has that additional ground clearance. It's time to see how it handles for real though. So even though we're going uphill right now and I can't see the road directly underneath me, we have the camera here which can see the road directly underneath me. And it can see over the crest of the hill, which to my eyes, looking over the bonnet or looking over the hood, I can't see over the hill. So it's nice to have these additional cameras. So one thing that I've noticed taking this G-Class off-road, remember this is the 500, is that it is super, super quiet when I'm driving. The only thing you can hear is the sound of the engine as it's revving. There's no wind noise, there's no nothing else, and that's because the cab of the vehicle's airtight, like it's watertight. You can feel it when the doors are slammed. You can feel the pressure of the car. So right now we're going over this muddy terrain area in front of us, and there's a huge puddle up ahead. And it's kind of crazy because the water level, as we get deeper, the water level is going to come up to the doors, and the doors should stay watertight. So we're going to go through the water. Looking out through the door right here, you can see how deep it is coming up to the doors, and there's zero water getting inside of the cab. It's insane. So A, it's watertight, and B, all of that water tightness helps keep the noise level down as well. Solid day. Bunch of water covering the hood. Yeah, the water level was definitely above that bottom seam of the door. You can see the dry patches right here and the wetness right down here. So above this bottom hinge, the whole bottom foot of the door was underwater. But still nothing got in the car. That's impressive. So we've done a lot of the off-road driving, we've tested the off-road capabilities, but to be honest with you, with how expensive this is, it's more of like a luxury vehicle. And so I imagine most of the time it's going to be on-road because you don't want to scratch something that costs this much. So as far as the on-road driving goes, it feels like a luxury vehicle still. And one of the things that comes with luxury vehicles is performance and speed. And even driving at freeway speeds, it still has a lot of acceleration left over to get even farther past legal speed limits. But with that, Mercedes has put a lot of effort into making the vehicle more quiet. The G-Class is not an aerodynamic vehicle by any means. It is a box and has the aerodynamics of a box. And while that's great for keeping the same style from the last 30 years of the G-Class, it's not so great for wind noise. But since this thing is pressurized and waterproof, it does keep a lot of that exterior noise out, including the road noise in cars next to you. So as far as the interior goes on the G-Class, this is another 500 with a white leather interior, and it looks phenomenal. Check this out. So right inside the door here, we have the speakers, we have all the seat controls, like every single aspect of the seat can be controlled up, down, left and right, back and forward. And this seat also, this is the leather. Dan and his son Lincoln chopped up one of the S-Class seats, and this has the same technology inside of it. So it has like the massaging air pockets, and these sides, as you turn the steering wheel back and forth, the sides grip your body with each turn of the vehicle. It's pretty sweet. Plus it has heating and cooling in the seats with these buttons right here. Normal window buttons, and just the white leather everywhere. Inside of the vehicle we have a display right here, as well as a second display over here on the side. That's the same kind of thing we saw in the A-Class when me and Dan went to Amsterdam for the A-Class reveal. One thing that I'm not super fond of, and I've noticed in every single G-Class that I've been in, I think this is number 6 or 7 in this road trip, is that with the 2018s, the reflection of this vent right here is in the rear view mirror. You can see that little circle of the vent in the mirror all the time. And it's not super distracting, and you might not always notice it, but I have. There are buttons everywhere on this. I feel like some of them are a little bit redundant, like down here we have a back button, right here we have a back button, right here we have a back button. There's just so many different places to control the electronics inside of the car that wherever your hand is at that time, you can control basically everything, whether it's down here at the bottom or up here on the steering wheel. Couple more buttons up here at the top and a sunroof, which I love. There's 5 billion specs that we could talk about. Safety is one of them. I want to talk about that. So with the seatbelts, when you clip them in, there's a little motor up top that cinches it tight across your chest. Thought that was cool. My truck doesn't have that. And then there's also the normal safety features that cars in 2018 have. So it has the lane assist that helps you stay between the two lines. And the thing is that it's actually pretty strong. If the car thinks that I'm just naturally drifting into another lane, it'll take the steering wheel and jerk it back into the lane. Whether it's, a center stripe, it'll do it like in short segments, or if it's a solid stripe like on the edge of the road, it'll do it hard. It almost makes you think that you hit something on the side of the road, because it jerks you back into the center. So I haven't quite decided if I like that feature yet, but it's still interesting that it's there. Also, when you're changing lanes and signaling to go in one lane or the other, there's little LED markers on the side view mirrors that tell you if there's a car in your blind spot, which is super helpful. But there's at least 50 buttons within my grasp right here, and a lot of them do the same thing. Like the back button that I pointed out before, there's 3 of those, all within reach of my right hand. But for those of you already familiar with Mercedes vehicles, these buttons are pretty standard, and it is good to always have easy access to the buttons you press the most. Also didn't realize the Mercedes-Benz logo lights up. That's pretty sweet. We finally made it to Barcelona after over 500 kilometers of driving from France to Spain. To be honest with you, before this video, I knew that the G-Class was a little on the more luxury side of things, but I didn't know it was as capable off-road as it actually is. And super huge thanks to Mercedes for letting me and Dan put that to the test, literally today and yesterday. The fancy seats and the 3 lockers are still my favorite things of the G-Class. Let me know what you think is best down in the comments, and thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.